From the voice of honest trailers, it's Epic Voice Reviews.
Greetings, faithful viewers. It is I, the Epic Voice Guy, and it's time to travel back in time to see the best and worst of 2016. I divided these into categories, so I gave my favorite and my least favorite and at least one honorable mention per category. Here we go. In the category of action, my favorite of the year was Captain America Civil War. While not the best comic book movie of the year in my opinion, it was my favorite action movie this year. It had all these cool things that I've always wanted to see and looked so good on screen. That huge fight scene at the airport, the three-way fight between Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Iron Man. I mean, it really was a great action movie. And my least favorite of the year has to go to Allegiant from the Divergent series, which already set the bar pretty low, but come on, for an action film, this thing just fell completely flat, and what action we did get was mostly computer animated. And the honorable mention for action movie goes to Deadpool, because let's admit it, it was a really freaking good action film. Up next, comedy. My favorite of the year has got to go to Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. While a lot of people didn't like this movie as much as I did, I found it quotable, a lot of fun, and I watched it several times, even gave it to my wife for Christmas, and we've watched it at least 2 times since. It's a really funny movie. In my least favorite category, it's gotta go to Boo, A Madea Halloween. Come on, I mean, do I really have to explain why that's the worst? And an honorable mention goes to Deadpool. While one of the best action movies this year, it was also one of the best comedies this year. In the category of comic movie, come on, it's gotta be Deadpool. While it didn't win first place, in my opinion, for action or comedy, it was my favorite comic book movie this year because it really was a comic book movie, and it was the best, probably the best I've ever seen made, and I absolutely freaking loved it. Cannot wait for Deadpool 2. As far as my least favorite and worst of the year, it's gotta go to Suicide Squad. Come on, give me some credit. I actually did like Suicide Squad. I thought there was a lot of fun stuff in it, but as far as comic book movies go, it felt pretty bad, and the villains were just absolute crap. I mean, it was all over. I mean, go watch the honest trailer if you have a problem with what I'm talking about. You'll see what I mean. And an honorable mention goes to Captain America Civil War. While it was my favorite action movie this year, it was not my favorite comic book movie this year, but it was still pretty dang good. In the category of drama, the #1 movie of the year, in my humble opinion, goes to The Arrival. While it could be considered sci-fi, it was my best and favorite of the dramas this year because it was pretty dramatic and it was a really great film, and it's definitely worth checking out in theaters. The worst has got to go to Ben-Hur. I was a big fan of the original, watched it with my family, Charlton Heston, great epic story, but this one just should not have been made. You gotta leave the classics alone, especially if you're gonna do them this bad. I mean, it was really bad. And an honorable mention goes to War Dogs. While a lot of people consider that a comedy or maybe an action film, I felt like it fits in the drama category the best. It was a very cool story, also based on a true story. It was well acted. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it was interesting. It kept my interest all the way through the film. In the category of family films, #1 has got to go to Kubo and the Two Strings. Come on, if this thing does not win the Oscar for Best Animated Picture this year, there is seriously something wrong, because it really was the best. In fact, it was one of the best animated things I've ever seen. The time it took to make this thing frame by frame, and the fact that they built this huge, largest they've ever made, stop motion / animatronic / whatever puppeteer thing that they did for that skeleton monster deal, it's so freaking impressive. I mean, it really was an incredibly good movie, as well as well-voiced and a great story. And the worst of the year has got to go to 9 Lives. And if any of you disagree with me, we are no longer friends, because this movie spent all of its lives dying at the theater. Absolutely dreadful movie. I mean, come on, it was worse than Garfield 2. And an honorable mention goes to Zootopia. While not my favorite of the year, it still was a really dang good movie, and definitely one of my favorites. In the fantasy genre, #1 goes to Doctor Strange. I don't know a ton about Doctor Strange. It was not my favorite comic book movie this year. As far as fantasy goes, it was a great movie. And my least favorite goes to Warcraft. While it had a lot of huge computer animated action scenes, it was so all over the place, and I'm not as big a Warcraft fan to really get all the Warcraft references or whatnot. I mean, I haven't played Warcraft since Warcraft 2 on PC, where you had to get your little guys to farm and go zug zug. Come on, let's be honest. It wasn't so good. And the honorable mention for fantasy movies goes to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I mean, I saw it 3 times at the theater. That should tell you something. That twist ending, that got me. That was the hook right there. He got me good. In the category of horror, my favorite of the year goes to Witch. While there wasn't a ton of great horror movies to pick from, of the ones we did get, I thought Witch was the highest on the creep factor. My least favorite of the year is a 3-way tie that goes to Disappointment's Room, Other Side of the Door, and The Forest. I mean, 2 of those were just bad films. They did every cliche horror thing ever. They were just dumb. But making money off of a forest where people go to kill themselves and making a movie about it, that was really made, I mean, it was already a bad movie, but the fact that it was based on a real thing, I felt like profiteering off of people's suicides was a pretty low blow. And an honorable mention for Best Horror Movie of the Year goes to Blair Witch. That was a pretty good movie, and if you'd never seen the original Blair Witch movie, this would be your Blair Witch. It was, to me, as good as a remake as the Evil Dead remake was of the first Evil Dead movie. I think that's fair. In the category of science fiction. Okay, you all know my love for Rogue One. I've gone on and on about how great it is, and I found the only people on the internet who didn't like it, or liked Force Awakens better than it, or thought it was worse than the prequels. Come on, what's wrong with you? Agree to disagree. It's a great movie, in my opinion, and I like it, and you can get over it. However, the worst movie that there was, Independence Day Resurgence. Come on, I mean, it was so bad. And don't believe me, watch the honest trailer, because we point out everything wrong with it, and trust me, it's a lot. You can't just make a bunch of giant CGI eye candy and make a good film out of it. That's not how the Force works. And my honorable mention goes to Passengers, surprisingly. I wanted to give it to Arrival, but it's a drama with a little science fiction in it. Passengers is a full-blown science fiction movie. As far as science fiction films, it's actually not that bad. In the category of thriller, because I felt like it should get its own category instead of lumping them in with horror movies, my favorite of the year goes to Don't Breathe. It really did have me not breathing throughout the film. It was a big surprise to me. I was actually really taken back by how much I liked it and how good it was. And the worst has got to go to The Boy. It had so much potential to be a good movie. Go back and redo it. You can do better. There's a good movie there somewhere. Just do it right. Go back and do it again and pretend like the first one never happened, like they did with Blair Witch. And an honorable mention goes to 10 Cloverfield Lane, because let's admit it, it was pretty good. I just wish they hadn't called it Cloverfield in the title, so we could see the Cloverfield sign at the end of the film and be like, oh, that would have been a big twist. I think that would have pushed it a little up on the scale for me. And in the category of TV series, the best of the year goes to Westworld. You thought I was going to say Walking Dead, didn't you? Nope, Westworld got me. It had me hooked from the very first episode. It continued to get better and better and better with each episode. I had to binge the first 5 because I was a little bit behind. And it was such a good series, and I cannot wait for the next series. As far as worst goes, Fear the Walking Dead was gotta be the worst show that I watched this year. I could not get into it. It's so slow. It takes all the things that I don't like about the regular Walking Dead show and made them worse. So I will give you one more season, and after that, I'm out. And an honorable mention goes to one of my favorite TV series this year, Ash vs. the Evil Dead. Yeah, I still got some more dead in there. But yeah, it's very much Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, and some actual scary stuff too. And really funny, it's nice and short, because I feel like some of these shows that are an hour should be combined down to 30 minutes. Like The Flash, The Arrow, these shows should be 30-minute series, not an hour long, because what you're doing is making 30 minutes of action and 30 minutes of drama. Follow Evil Dead's footsteps and make a 30-minute good show, and then we'll want to watch more, because every show at the end of it's like, oh, it's already over already? Oh, I can't wait to watch the next episode. That's how good it was, but not quite as good as Westworld. And last, but certainly not least, the best show of 2016 on Netflix goes to Stranger Things. Don't be a stranger to Stranger Things. But hashtag dad jokes. But seriously, it doesn't matter what decade you were born in. I mean, obviously, it doesn't go to young children because of the language and the scary things, but you don't have to be a child of the 80s to really enjoy the show. It is so good. It's a great story. I love the actors. I loved everything about the show. I've already watched it through at least 3 times. It just wasn't quite as good as Westworld, but really freaking dang close. However, this is Netflix, so it has its own category, and it gets number 1 for me on Netflix. And the worst of the year goes to White Rabbit Project, because it can't really decide what it wants to be. It's really all over the place. And don't get me wrong, because I love Mythbusters, and I love the host of the show, but it can't decide whether it wants to be a best and worst, or if it wants to be more like Mythbusters, and they try to recreate the things, or they just want to count down the top from best to worst of these 1 through 6 different stories. And the title does not fit at all with the series. And when it comes to the end of the show, it doesn't have a kind of like, what do you guys want to see us do next? Or any kind of a tagline or kind of a catchphrase, nothing. It just has them having a conversation, and then it just ends. I feel like it's a good show. It's got a lot of interesting stuff in it. They just need to fix it and reformat it or retitle it or do something to make this a better show. And an honorable mention goes to Voltron, Legendary Defender, because it combines all the awesome nostalgia and all the cool things from Voltron in the 80s with the animation and humor and style and casting of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon series, which is really great. And those two together made a really great first season. Boom, blew it out of the park. I love the cast. I'm friends with several of them, and they've already got toys coming out, which, I mean, that's got to be good for like season 2 and 3, right? And they're building a freaking 1.5 foot tall Voltron. Oh yeah, I'm on board for that. It was a really great show. Just can't compare to Stranger Things. I mean, come on. And those were my picks for best and worst of 2016. Of the things I actually watched. What were yours? Let me know in the comments below, because I have a feeling a lot of you will disagree with me. And now, it's not time for your comments, because I thought instead I would give you an update about what's coming soon in 2017. I am moving to Los Angeles in 2 weeks. It's just a soft move, going out there solo. I'll be coming home weekends to prepare the path for the rest of my family to move out there once our kids are finished with school. Gonna make a ton of YouTube content, gonna go out there and bust my butt getting voice acting jobs, and hopefully my new channel and all the overhauls with the funny things with voices that I've been doing, the baby dick videos, the impression videos, hopefully my channel will make something of itself so I don't have to close the channel down in September of 2017. So make sure to tell your friends about me.
Like and share this video with all of your friends. Follow @EpicVoiceGuy on all the social things. On YouTube, click my logo to subscribe. Click the box to the left to watch the last video. And click the box to the right for more funny stuff with voices.